Welcome to Diversity Conversations, where we engage in thought-provoking dialogue to identify leadership solutions to today's most challenging conflicts. Stream live each week, Saturday 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hosted by Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategist and CEOs Eric Ellis and Tommy Lewis. Join us and add your voice to this engaging diversity conversation.
Good later morning, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, the United States, and the world. My name is Eric Ellis. I'm the president and CEO of Integrity Development Corporation, and I'm joined this morning by my friend and brother,
Tommy Lewis, president and CEO of Make It Plain Consulting. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Tommy. What's going on, baby?
Hey, nothing much, man.
Okay.
The background looks different.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. We are both together at the National Building Black Wealth Day Conference Symposium here at Word of Deliverance in Forest Park, Ohio. And we're just so excited about this conversation because it's one that you, me, Tommy, and I, and people of color in this country and around the world need to be having more often. What does it look like to focus on building Black wealth?
Yeah, Eric. And so this is happening here in Cincinnati, but also throughout the United States.
Right.
So you can go to, again, the National Building Black Wealth Day website. You will see in your city, typical major metropolitan cities, where this is happening simultaneously. And building wealth is not just about getting a dollar. It's really building an opportunity for us to stretch that dollar, have some, in some cases, passive income, so that we're not working too hard, but our money is working for us. That's wealth. And to transition that wealth to the next generations.
Right. And if you followed us for the last couple of weeks, we've talked about the whole topic of happiness. And what we suggested in the last couple of weeks is that success doesn't bring happiness. Wealth doesn't bring happiness. Happiness brings success. Happiness brings wealth. So you have to first start by making sure that you are yourself working on the things that it takes to be happy in life. That's family, that's relationships, that's a relationship with God, and those are the things that are important. But this is a conversation that we need to have. I've been watching, my wife always has me watching some of these different specials that come on time, and we've been watching this special about Lincoln and his Secretary General. And after slavery was over and they found Booth, they were looking at this notion of trying to provide land for the formerly enslaved people. And so that's where they started looking at that 40 acres and a mule. And then they sort of, I think, even passed some legislation around the land grant, sort of law, but then backed up on all of that, man, because the following President Johnson came on and said, no, we can't give them in words, all that kind of land. And we've been talking about that ever since. I mean, come on now. Slavery, 1862, we're still talking about today what happened to our 40 acres and a mule. Well, it's not coming. It wasn't coming then. It's not coming now. You cannot keep waiting for someone to save us. We must save ourselves from a financial standpoint. And the reason why wealth is so important, and Tommy and I have to keep reminding ourselves of this, because we are purpose-driven people. We're purpose-driven entrepreneurs. We are so much, we care so deeply about transforming organizations into healthy, fair, and just places that we don't spend enough time and energy on building wealth. And I'm going to say to you today, this morning, that in many ways we believe it may be even irresponsible to not literally utilize all the talents, gifts, abilities that God has given you to generate wealth.
Yeah, you're spot on, Eric. God-given gifts to generate wealth. We have talents, we have gifts. Sometimes we put those on the side burner to really sometimes develop a skill to do a job that we're not passionate about, we're not really interested in. And so we are literally exchanging hours for dollars.
Right.
That doesn't build wealth.
No.
To exchange hours for dollars. So what we're doing here is really looking at how can we connect our passion to our gifts and our talents that are God-given.
Right.
So that's what we do.
Right. And I'll say this to you as well. There's nothing wrong with work and an honorable job, building an honorable career inside of somebody else's institution. But I would say to you that as often as you do that, you are then making yourself vulnerable to the whims of whoever it is that you're working for. Yeah. And basically on the work that Tommy and I have been doing for me over 3 decades, for Tommy over 2.5 decades, we know that oftentimes there's inequity, there's lack of fairness in those workplaces. And then you sort of either don't get promoted or you even get fired, and then you're complaining about that. The way around that is to look at what does it take to utilize your skills to build wealth yourself, so that you are not asking somebody else to invest in the vision that God has put in you, but you're using everything that you have to create greater opportunities for others.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Eric. I think that as we look at today, we're going to have some conversation. Obviously, we like to invite the community to join us as well. Every now and again, we'll see if we can pull together a guest at this summit.
Right.
You'll hear some background conversation, which is always good because people are showing up today to learn how to build their wealth.
That's right.
This is not a sit and get. You have to get out, get involved, network, and connect.
Right.
Because again, none of us, Eric, can build wealth alone. None of us can actually achieve success alone. Yeah, we may have a milestone, a little checkpoint,
Right.
but we're looking at the sustained success, sustained ability to tap into our talents and skills, and to ultimately work smarter than harder.
Right.
And I'm saying that because I'm preaching to myself.
Come on now, we're going to do some of that today. We're going to do some of that today. We're going to do some of that today. We've been preaching the same sermon. We ain't getting the lesson yet.
We're getting the lesson here.
But Tommy, talk about your business, when you started your business, and what you were setting out to accomplish through your own business.
So, Eric, I go back to the early 90s. I'm an undergrad. I had the opportunity to go to conferences, and I'm a part of then the United States Council on Race Relations, the One America Mission. At the same time, I'm going through an organization called Inroads. And so as I'm working through those different entities, I'm learning about my gift, my ability. And in 1996, after a couple of jobs where I was happy and another one I was less than happy, I said, I need to use my talents to really do what I do. So I started Make It Plain Consulting. And it started, Eric, as a puppeteer company. To go into schools using entertainment as puppets to help our young people understand to be popular or to be smart. And I was really leaning them to be smart.
Right.
And through the entertainment. I started the company as Make It Plain Productions. And after about 6 months getting some work, another client said, hey, do you do this for adults? And I said, I sure do.
Right.
And I had to
That's
pivot.
always answer.
That's always the answer. I had to pivot from Make It Plain Productions to Make It Plain Consulting. And so over the years, I've grown Make It Plain Consulting from a human resources management company, going into workforce development, diversity, equity, and inclusion, doing executive coaching. I later got certified in that. And then most recently, in the last 10 years, I've been in the economic inclusion space, whereby there are developments, be it horizontal development, roadways, highways, and byways, as well as vertical builds. And those developers have an interest of engaging minority-owned, small businesses, women-owned, and disadvantaged businesses. My company helps those businesses get participation. It works.
Okay. And that's something that we haven't delved in and will not. And I'm glad that you are there doing that work. And so as I look at my own business, I've been in business now for over 30 years and started my business in 1991. My father was, many people look at me as though I'm a pioneer in diversity, but my father was a pioneer before me. He was born and raised a farmer. You all know the story. But then came to Cincinnati with a wife and 5 children to get his PhD in psychology, and then to start as an internal consultant for Procter & Gamble. He left there to start his own business and to help start the diversity industry. So I grew up in a household where we were focused on being entrepreneurs. My father was an entrepreneur. My grandfather was a farmer. My grandfather on the other side was a painter. I mean, they all worked for themselves. And I'll say to you that a lot of our freedom comes from working for ourselves. And so I would say that that's something that I want to offer to you. And I'm going to transition this to Tommy for just a second to sort of talk about the conference a little bit. I think they might need me.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple of things as Eric's stepping away. As we're talking about the 5 ways of building wealth in the U.S., just a couple of things, touch points. One is that investing in education. Education is both formal education and informal. So this summit is an informal approach to that education, really getting to understand about wealth. If it's investing in properties, flipping homes, if it's identifying funding sources from banks and commercial entities. That's not always easy. I'll tell you that right now. So there are funding sources out there, but are you connected to them? Sometimes we go to different conferences, et cetera, and we get that feedback and we exchange business cards, et cetera. But sometimes folks don't follow up. It's up to you. The person wants to manage that relationship, to follow up, to drive it. And so that's pursuing higher education and or informal education and acquiring the specialized skills that can significantly increase your earning potential over time. I repeat, your earning potential over time. It's not I learned this skill today and tomorrow I know everything. The second is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship also can be in 2 ways. One, it's actually creating your business, your organization. That's one way. Another way is when we're thinking about entrepreneurial mindset, always looking for growth, looking for opportunities, looking to offer up your services and products to the customer. Sometimes that customer is already created. Sometimes that customer you have to create. So starting your own business allows you, all of us, a greater control over our income and wealth accumulation, especially in industries where minority and female entrepreneurs are underrepresented. Third, real estate. Real estate investment, investing in real estate. You can be flipping homes. You can develop real estate property management organizations. That's something I have. My sister and I actually own and manage a property real estate company. And that is, we purchase properties and we manage them and we make sure that the properties are up to speed and our renters and tenants are living first in a living environment that they are comfortable with. So we're not slumlords by no means, but we're actually providing real estate property that folks can buy into. And then the 4th and 5th is investing in the stock market. So I will share with you that this is something I'm less familiar with. Stock market is both a skill and it's a drug of the law. It's a draw. It's a gamble. Let me just say that. Right. And so, however, with consistent investment in diversified stocks or index funds, you can build wealth again over time, long term. The 5th and final is networking and mentorship. So they can be both and the same. And I'll turn it to you in just a moment, Eric, to share a little bit. So networking is really a intentional effort to connect with a potential opportunity. You don't know if opportunity is there. Opportunity can be with a person that's connected to the opportunity, or it can be in the opportunity itself. And networking is really casting a net of your product, services, and you, and allowing it to work. Now, you just can't cast the net into the sea and sit back and say, it's going to do its own business. It doesn't work like that. We need to pay attention to the net to see if it's casted in the right pool of water. So your network has to be in the pool that will gather the results that you're expecting. Mentorship is an opportunity for someone who's been in that pool. They're connected to the network. They're in the know, and they simply can tell you where to fish. You are minimizing your work with your mentor who's giving you 1, 2, 3 plays, and then you go to work.
Right.
And so those are the 5 steps to building your wealth. Eric, thanks for joining us again. This is a moving, dynamic environment, but we just really unpack those 5 steps. If there's anything you have to share.
Right. So what I'll do is Tommy's going to go out and fish out our first guest or participant. And while he's out, I'll talk to you again about these things, as well as again, the business that I run. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Roger, so glad to have you with us, man. Let me see if I can pull up your comment, because I just think it's always useful to share some of what our community is saying. So your flexibility is not only physical, it's mental. The ability to mentally do things physically, you're not necessarily mentally attached to. And so I'm going to say to you all that wealth is something that we say a lot, but it's not something that we see a lot. It's not something that we even have as an aspiration. I've heard people say that a lot of our young men never expect to even get to the age of 25. And so that's why they make so many risky choices and engage in risky behaviors, because if you're not thinking that your life is going to be that long, then you will do anything. But I'd say to you, the rest of us in many ways are operating in the same way. We are doing the job every day, and we're not actually looking to achieve wealth. For me, I love business. I love working. But for some reason, it feels like I've been so much more connected to the mission and vision of my work and of change than of building wealth. Because in many ways, we've been taught, almost programmed, that wealth is a bad thing. That because it looked like everybody that had money, they were arrogant or they were biased. And so we almost came to a place where we were almost averse to wealth. And I would say to you that as I think about my business, started in 1991. First place I did diversity training was the CIA. I spent 3 years training spies. If you're looking for a challenge, you try to create trust in an environment where they lie for a living. I mean, it felt like it was an uphill battle. But I was invited by a company, 21st Century Management Consulting Services, Lloyd and Jackie Dickens, to be a subcontractor for their diversity firm and to start my own. So that's how I got my start. My father was a pioneer, started his own business. I interned in his business. He died at the young age of 48. And he used to always say, my ship is about to come in. And right after he died, that ship did come in. And before he died, they had contracts with Ford, General Motors, GE, Procter & Gamble, some of the major corporations in the world. They had as clients. And then after he died, that company ended up making hundreds of millions of dollars. My father didn't really take part in that. And so you would have thought that I learned of the importance of making sure that you are focused on generating wealth. But I've been focused on doing great work, making great change, and that there's sort of a natural intersection that will happen between doing the right thing and wealth. Those don't necessarily intersect. Doing good work and getting more clients there is an intersection between those two. But I can tell you that wealth is the point at which you no longer have to work and your money is making money for you. So if you still have to get up, if you still have to go to work, then you do not have the kind of wealth, generational wealth, that's going to be necessary to give your children and your grandchildren a leg up. We've seen so many people that are legacy wealth, have a legacy and wealth inheritance. An inheritance. When you have that, then you have a lot of options, then things that you can do. And so those are the kind of things that we're trying to focus on right now. So as I think about generating wealth, I now realize that we've got to partner more together than literally trying to do work all by ourselves. The way I was raised is that you get up early and you go after it. That the way to success is working hard, having integrity, getting up early, staying up late, doing a good job. If you make a mistake, doing it over. I was talking to somebody and they were saying, Eric, if your business gets super extraordinarily successful, all that's going to mean is that in many ways you have less time available. The older I get, the less I'm interested in getting a lot of additional business because that means I'm gonna have to do a lot more work. And so I've got to grow my team. I've got to figure out ways of scaling our business. I can tell you that one of the real linchpins in this notion of heading towards wealth was the pandemic. Now, my wife Judy had been telling me for over a decade, Eric, why don't you go virtual? When are you going to do something digital in the digital space? I told her I don't even believe in it. I said, if these companies won't make the investment of bringing people together, then I don't even really want to work with them. And then the pandemic hit. When the pandemic hit, many of us had to make changes. In March of 2020, President Trump closed down the country. And so if you run a business where your whole business banks on bringing people together, and now we socially and physically distancing, you are now trying to identify how you're going to survive. And so I pivoted to the virtual space. And that was one of the biggest, most significant changes in my world. Is really moving into the virtual space. When I looked at the training and consulting that was available in the virtual space, it was like, what? This is horrible. And so it feels like oftentimes like taking candy from a baby to do things virtually. I've gone all over the world now working on diversity with people in China and Japan and Australia and all kinds of other countries. And so we're going to bring some guests here to join us just to give us a sense of why they are at this conference, if they have a role at the conference, or why building wealth is important to them. Hello there. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Excellent. Eric Ellis.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you again in person now.
Yes. So tell us why you're at the conference. What it is you want to get out of today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am very passionate about building Black wealth. My name is Michelle Jarman, and I am the CEO of Michelle Jarman Finance. And I'm a credit specialist. So I am helping people to repair their credit, to build their credit, so that they can qualify for home ownership and they can leverage their credit to build wealth. So that's why I'm here, just spreading information.
Right.
I have books that I have wrote that are discounted today. Because some people, there's lots of things people can do themselves. So I have my book here available, and also budgeting.
Okay.
A budgeting book as well.
Excellent.
Because sometimes people's credit suffers because they're not managing their money.
Right.
So just teaching them, those skills to help them to become better managers when it has to deal with their money.
Right. Yeah. Michelle, I'm glad you're here and your husband. I'm going to be honest. I need some feedback. My money has been misbehaving over the last couple of years. Right. It is not doing what I have told it to do.
Right.
Or once it gets into my hand and or possession, it wants to run away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of running.
Yeah.
A lot of running. So it helped me from a budget perspective, and I'm looking on the credit. It's decent.
Okay.
But if there are 2 or 3 things I should initially think about to get my money under control.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it really boils down to this. So you have to just. I would recommend actually getting a copy of your bank statement and going through it for the past month, highlighting wants and needs. Sometimes you kind of take a look back and you say, wait a minute. Where's all this money going? Because you could be packing your lunch instead of buying. You could be drinking more water instead of, coffee.
Right. Water's free still.
Exactly. So those are some things that you could do. And then another thing too is go through your phone and look at your subscription list. There's lots of times that we those subscriptions that we
Rocket Mortgage.
Yes, there you go. That I love it because it'll say, hey, do you need this? We can get rid of this.
Right.
But sometimes we forget about that. We may have a free trial and then we forget, and then it's on like a yearly plan, and you're like, what happened? Or a monthly plan even. So going through those subscriptions and then making sure, there's things that you may need or may not. If there are some subscriptions that that you are going to use, no matter what, I always say put those on a credit card. Let those help build your credit because you're going to be paying for for them anyway. So those are some things that you can keep on there when you're trying to build your credit. So that kind of helps with the budgeting, kind of helps with your credit as well.
Let me ask you this. So I remember when I was growing up, and everybody black in the hood was buying a Cadillac. And so we even got that as a stereotype. What I've seen over the years is that when you are marginalized and when you are being judged as being poor, and a lot of times you go try to get the trappings of wealth because you don't want people to look down on you. How do you break out of that mental and emotional cycle to delay the gratification of trying to get some of this bias off of me by material things? Because I think that's a part of what drives us almost at every stage. And this sort of, I don't know how long I'm going to be alive.
Yeah.
And so it's, I was just talking about before you all joined us, that a lot of young people, young African-American men, don't believe that they'll get to 25. So if you don't see yourself get to 25, you ain't thinking about what, you think about what you can do today. How do we battle those kinds of social, psychological challenges in order to delay today's gratification?
Yeah, that's very deep. So, I definitely, because I'm an educator at heart,
okay.
But I definitely say we need to start young, teaching these principles to our babies while they're young, because, before they start developing or they start, looking at social media and they want to be a fan of this and that, and they're not really thinking about more things that are important when you talk about building wealth. So I say start young. I do have a digital download book, and it's talking about credit for even kids, and budgeting and handling money and what to do with an allowance, and what percentage to save, what percentage to invest in. Getting them familiar with different apps like Acorn, or there's Greenlight. I like Greenlight. Even get them a Greenlight debit card and teaching them how to save, how to spend, how to invest. So those are some things that we need to start at home. I really believe a lot of that starts there, and then it becomes a habit. As long as when you do things over and over again, it eventually becomes a habit, and it's just kind of all you know. And then just making those conversations, I feel like more pertinent in the household. We talk about this and that. Let's start talking about building wealth. Let's start talking about saving. Let's start talking about investing at a young age, because I feel like that's what others, counterparts do. So we need to do that ourselves in our community. And I feel like that's going to be something that is cherished. That's going to be something that they definitely hold value to. And I feel like as they get older, they're only going to continue to be wanting to do more with that. So they're not going to be as concerned as what's going on in social media and this and that. Their focus is going to be on things that's really going to be positive for them and their family.
Yeah, Michelle, that's great. And I'm thinking about Black couples, particularly married.
Then the chill scoot over.
And with married couples, sometimes we've learned that divorce, when it unfortunately happens, is around money. Either there's a disparity in the management of the money, or we're not even having a conversation as a couple about a common denominator, money. We're not even having it. Could you share a little insight? It can be from a business perspective or from a personal relationship perspective of how do we have that tough conversation around the money?
Yes. So that's a great question, Tommy. Definitely you need to have that question. That needs to be one of your vetting questions, I say, because that is a tough conversation to backtrack later down, the line when things aren't adding up and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know this about this person, or you're looking to make a major purchase and you find out that, your spouse or significant other, their credit score is, going to be a problem, a hindrance. So the sooner you have that conversation, the better. Definitely, you want to, like you talked about, looking at your bank statements, put all that out on the line. Ask them what the credit score is. You look at their credit monitoring yourself. You guys compare. Is this something in align your goals? So what is our 5-year goal? What is our 1-year goal? What do we want to do, for ourselves? So I feel like when you put that out on the line, and if your significant other is transparent, then you know that you are, evenly yoked. You're on the same page. But if there are some red flags that come up, where they're hesitant about sharing that information, you know, or they're not being upfront, that may be that's a red flag.
Yes.
You know, and you don't want to put yourself into that situation because it is going to cause a lot of stress. It's going to cause a lot of arguments, and it could ultimately end in divorce. So those are some conversations that need to be had from the beginning.
From the beginning.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Not going to take too much more of your time, but I do want to give you the opportunity once again to share with our viewers how might they get in touch with you, and then also if you could share a little bit more about the book.
Yeah. So definitely, I am Michelle Jarman on social media on Facebook. If you want to get in touch with me there, my number is 888-399-5551. If you want to schedule a credit boosting strategy call where we can just kind of go over a game plan, I can even, you know, recommend some things you can do yourself to improve your credit. You can just go to go.michellejarman.com, and my last name is Jarmon. Michelle is Michelle. So go.michellejarman.com. We'll set up a consultation and I'll be able to walk you through what's going on your credit report, how to repair it, how to rebuild it. I will give you a free credit analysis that will go over everything in detail. So thank you, Tommy, for sharing this platform. The book that I have is Credit Goals. It is on Amazon. And that is a DIY program. So there's things that you can do yourself to repair your credit. And that book walks you through it from step A to Z.
Excellent. I'll say this as you transition. Thank you. So if you all haven't seen a power couple, Michelle and her husband, power couple, this brother is smooth, good looking, right? Respectful and clean. His wife, beautiful. Both of them attractive on the outside, but more attractive on the inside. And so that's really, I think, where wealth begins. It begins from inside and not reaching out to try to mask what we don't have, as Eric said, by buying this and buying that to make it look good. So again, Michelle.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Indeed. Yeah, indeed. We're having again.
All right. Well, we are so fortunate to have wonderful guests with us today. We've got Lacey that's going to join us now. She's going to talk about what she does in the marketing space. I think it's so important. What I recognize is that people can't do things that they never see. But one of the challenges of living in a ghetto is that if you don't see other people getting up, going to work, then you learn whatever's around you. We've been poor for a long time, but we've not been poor in terms of our mentality because we had working people in our neighborhoods. So we have to look at some changes that we need to put in place. But Lacey, we're so happy to have you here with us, joining us in this conversation. And congratulations on your business. We always like to start with our guests sort of just introducing themselves to our community. We've got people from around the country and around the world that are joining us, and just kind of introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what are the experiences and people that have brought you to who you are today.
Well, my name is Lacey Roberts. I am a Cincinnati native, Golden Hills High School. I am a former journalist, so if you have seen my face, you see me on various local news stations. And from those experiences and meeting those people, when you're in that media space, you meet people like you and others who talk about generational wealth or telling those unheard stories of our communities, and they always don't make it on air. And that's when I realized it was time for me to step away from that and begin my own journey. So I do have my own media company. It's called Grace Media Marketing and Consulting. And that name alone, Grace, is where I think that the media doesn't give all of our communities to these stories, to have the grace to tell the rest of the story. We only see specific parts of how our communities are highlighted. Don't always see, we see the struggle, but we don't see the triumph.
Right.
You know, we may see the triumph, but we don't see where you came from, to let people know, like, A, you can do this. B, there are people who are going to help you get through this. And then when you get to that space, they say it's lonely at the top, but that's not true. And I think when you hear that it's lonely at the top, and they discourage some people from moving to those heights or making themselves in these different spaces to build Black wealth. Like today, you have that sense of, am I worthy enough to be in that space to help me build my Black wealth?
Right.
But how do I do that? So I think it's important to be in spaces like this, which is where I am today. The people that I've met along my journalist career, they see I've stepped apart and they're like, okay, you stepped out. Let's come together to make this story bigger than what it is and let's share and highlight in all of those good things.
Right.
So here, when we're talking about building Black wealth, we're not only talking about monetary or generational wealth. I think when we think about wealth, we have to start thinking about our mindset. And that's
We're big
where
on
we
that.
have people like
Right,
you
right,
who have
right.
shows like this to where you can help stimulate your mind. And once you stimulate your mind, that's when you can reach all those different levels of things that you're going to do.
Preach that.
So
Yeah.
this is important.
Lacey, thank you again. You talked about your background in journalism, and I would imagine that in journalism, you have to connect with people, get the story, get some facts, kind of get deeper. And now we're transitioning to marketing. How are you helping people connect with other people to develop networks?
So in that journalism base, we only had so many hours to tell the story. But you, the public, only sees that minute 30 seconds. But I've spent, I think, 7 hours with this person. And I'm like, there's so much more that that they have nourished and told me that needs to be connected with other people. So now in this marketing space, I've kind of gone back to those communities and people that I've seen like, hey, I didn't have the time to connect you to this person, but I did this story a while ago, and you're starting this nonprofit to help better, single mothers in our community, to let them know you don't have to just go rely on the government, but there's actual an assistance program that shows you that you can be a single mother, go back to school, start your own business, and then we'll connect you with those resources to help build that wealth. While you're also having a daycare system that teaches your child how to do this right now so that they don't have to wait until they graduate from high school or wait till there's a summer program that you sign up for. So it's like in this marketing space, I consider it network marketing, because you have to remember your network is your net worth.
Right.
And if I'm not sharing who I know with the people that I know can thrive on connection, then what's the point?
Right. And we don't do that well enough in Cincinnati. I have seen Cincinnati often be viewed as a one Black person at a time kind of city. And so I've literally seen some people of color almost shut the door on me, that I was trying to come to get in, but I don't even get offended by it because I recognize that they're concerned that they see me, that they might not want them. Tommy and I don't sweat that at all. We recognize that what is for us is for us, and that if I could recommend you to somebody, that actually makes me look good. I mean, I actually, my esteem goes up, my reputational value goes up. Talk about your mentality from working for someone else to now working for yourself.
Oh man, that was huge, because in that space, when you work for someone, you don't really have to, or you don't have the chance to promote all of your knowledge. Your knowledge is contained into what you represent. You represent them and that entity. So you can only bring so much of yourself to the forefront. Now, working for myself, I get to remember and remind myself that I can give all of me to my clients. I can give all of my knowledge to the community without holding back and feeling like, oh, I should have said that. Oh, that's not shareable. Or, oh, that's not.
You can't get in trouble
not,
now.
That's not public record. I'm like,
right.
now I can tell everything. I can
Right.
share everything.
Right.
So having that knowledge to have your own company and be in this space, you can represent whoever you want to.
I love that. Talk to our community, because we have people that are really following us from around the world. Talk to our community about marketing themselves. What would you give them as the top 3 or 4 tips of things that they can do that would help them better market their businesses, their services, themselves, or even jobs?
First, when it comes to marketing yourself, you can never do enough. I think sometimes we feel like as a community, oh, I'm doing too much. But if you don't tell someone about your business, how are they going to know? So you have to get into self. Second, align yourself with someone that's doing what you're doing. And if you're doing it at a higher capacity, don't even think about that. Collaboration is key, because if you're starting a business and you want to market yourself, You can go as far as you want by yourself.
Right.
But you have to remember, just like a company with a CEO, they have a staff or they have board members. These people that you connect yourself with in your community that are doing like things like you, this person over here may be better at doing this a little bit better than you. But that's okay because they can help you get to that place where you want to get to. Thirdly, find you a strong communication system and a team. If you don't have a strong communication or a team, it's going to be hard to sustain what you're trying to do. And when you do that, lastly, you have to have a mission. If you don't have a mission for what you're doing, how can you get up every day and be motivated? How do you know what the next thing is that you're looking forward to and stay connected to your community? Remember what you're doing it for and who you're doing it for as well.
I've got one last question, and Tommy may have one. But I would say to you that so many of us, and this is a temptation, this is why Tommy and I work together, so often those of us that have been raised to go get it are busy going to get it. And we literally believe that in our community, we believe that the way that we get forward, we either protest, we challenge, we boycott, or we try to work hard. And literally, you can't really get to wealth by digging deeper your own hole. What would be your advice for us, those that are really talented and gifted, that think that they themselves can work their way to wealth? What can you say to people that would help encourage us to not simply feel that spending all of our time working for ourselves is the best avenue? That we got to come up, we got to network with others and build relationships and partnerships in order to get
there. Man, this is so important. You can, what did somebody tell me? Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're moving forward. Just because you're busy all day long doesn't mean you're moving forward. Write it down. Have a list of tasks for the day, and once you go through them, it's time to move forward. And when I say move forward, you have this task. You want to get to another place, research it, study, educate yourself. Put yourself in those other spaces with people who don't look like us, right, so that you can understand how it works. So you can bring that knowledge not only back to the table, but then when you go to dig into the ground, you realize I didn't need to go that far. I only needed to dig 6 feet instead of 12, because you dig in 12 and that knowledge is already out there.
Right.
You're not reinventing the wheel. Someone is already doing what you're doing. The thing is to learn how to do it smarter, not harder. And so again, that comes back with relationship, community, and making sure that you have a timeline for yourself that's always pushing you forward. You feel like you're stuck or you're moving backwards, look at it again and start over. There's nothing wrong with starting over.
And I'm gonna pitch this in. Tommy, I said I'm gonna pitch this in. It's actually easier for me to brag about you than it is for me to brag about myself. I want to add 2 things to what Lacey said to you. Number 1, connect and partner with people of integrity that are not afraid of you, that are not afraid of you being successful. That's why Tommy and I work so well together. We learn something from each other every time we meet. When we turn off the cameras and the show is over, we sit around for another hour or 2 and talk about family things, business things. I'm not afraid of Tommy having all the knowledge that I have, and he's not afraid of me. And so I would say, and now that we have reconnected with Lacey, it's going to be so easy for me to call up people on her behalf, because when I'm tooting my own horn, a lot of times there's a self-interest factor in that. But if we get with people that we trust and we know that they do great work, that can add value time.
Yeah, I was just saying this, not to take too much more of your time, Lacey. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
That I will say this to our community, as Eric mentioned before, from a global perspective, and all of our community members who are in Los Angeles, who are in Atlanta, Georgia, that chime in every Saturday, who are in Dallas, Texas, across the nation. If you are a large company, 100,000 employees, a smaller or mid-sized company, or maybe a 5 to 1 person company, I believe that you need the services that Lacey and her company offers. I say this because sometimes our larger companies and mid-sized companies, we get too comfortable of what we have, even though the marketing company that we have are not meeting or exceeding our expectations.
Right.
Pivot,
Right.
change, try something new. because we have a professional woman here who not only has journalism background to really listen to you, the customer, but also the skill set to make your message resonate with others. So I want to turn it back over to you, Lacey, to share with our community how might they get in touch with you.
You can get in contact with me at Grace Media Marketing at Outlook.com, or you can follow me on my social media pages, Lacey Roberts TV.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good one.
And so we have some powerful people here at this conference that can inspire you, that can provide you some perspective, that will enable you to find wealth, build wealth, and to build some enthusiasm and some encouragement around what is possible. Because that's where we've got to go now. We've got to begin to be possibility thinkers. I think about God putting us on this earth with all the talent, skill, ability, hope, confidence. Those things are not just for nothing at all. They are to be invested back into the people and the communities around us. We need inspiration. And I find that right now, America, the United States is, in terms of its happiness, the World Happiness Study, our happiness is going down like this. It's going down like this because we're so stressed out by so much negativity that's happening around us. I would say the first thing that you need to do is focus on what does it take for me to be happy. Now, what I've defined happiness to my children is this. I tell my children, I said, look, happiness is not defined by houses, cars, materialism. It's not defined by a career, a job, a salary. Success is defined, in my view, by the quality of each moment lived. So the first thing Tommy and I would say to you is live quality. Enjoy breathing in God's free air every single day. But then also spend time. Now, the way you get to happiness is spending time every day. Think about 2 or 3 things that you're grateful for. And what I want to do here in this moment is begin to develop you, the fullness of you, so that you then can be launched into the capacity to gain wealth. I don't think that you gain wealth from depression, discouragement, and a lack of hope. You gain wealth from a place of joy and happiness, and then spending some time each day meditating on God, what would you have me do in this life? And I think there's not enough of us that are thinking about wealth in the right way. What I know is this: materialism is fool's gold. It promises greater than it will ever deliver. But once you understand your purpose, once you are happy, once you are fulfilled, once you have a relationship with God, you are now prepared. You're the clay that's now prepared to launch into a responsible person of great wealth. That's what we're talking about. Don't just go after the money. Go after the you that God designed you to be. Then on the way to that, I think that wealth can be a byproduct.
Eric, that's well said. That resonated with me so much because I believe that in the ups and downs, the challenges and sometimes concerns of the pursuit of wealth,
Right.
there are going to be some challenges.
Right. Absolutely.
If one is not happy and joyful in self, then the burden of the journey will overwhelm them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the same thing with life.
Absolutely.
The challenges that life will present.
Right.
If one is not happy, content, even in the journey, to really be able to say, here's where I am in this moment, in this season, right, and I'm trying to move forward. I know that yourself, me, other people that we engage with are experiencing their own respective challenges.
Right.
But the joy that comes out of the spirit of folks is contagious.
It's contagious.
Right. And when we are really working toward that pursuit of wealth, financial wealth, other wealth, that it becomes, God can be silly with the abundance.
Right.
I know I have found myself in situations, Eric, where the wealth that I've achieved financially has not been due to my own doing.
Right. You didn't do nothing to make it happen. God made that happen.
A pot of gold landed in
That's
my
crazy.
lap,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I had to receive it with humility, right?
Right.
Because it said, if people knew,
Right. But if that big smile come on across your face, I didn't see that big smile come across Tommy Lewis's face. I said, I hear you, bro. And you got to have somebody who can be grateful when God blesses you.
yes,
But here's what we're saying directionally. And this is the lesson that I want you to get. If you simply go after wealth, if you simply go after money and materialism, I promise you it's fool's gold, and it promises greater than it will ever deliver. But if you go after happiness, if you go after faith, then when you get wealth, you will be in the mindset. Felicia, we need to have you come over as our guest. You'll be in the mindset to do something with that money. All you have to do is look at all the people that have become wealthy and then killed themselves. I mean, we don't have to go into a long list. Elvis Presley, Prince, Whitney Houston, on and on and on, Michael Jackson. So wealth by itself is hollow. But if you get the character part together and you get your faith part together, then you'll have something from which to really then launch this wealth that we need to be going after. We're going to invite Felicia to join us. She is the leader of this local effort. She is the convener of this conference. Okay. Absolutely. We want to make sure we got so many people, our friends that are here, but we are grateful to have Felicia. Felicia and Tommy were both inroads interns of mine years ago.
Yeah.
I saw this, that they were both stars way back then. They were just walking around as little wealth magnets right already. I'm looking at it and saying, what can I learn from them? They're strong. And I love them to death. Felicia, I love what Felicia said to me. I'm coming back out now. This is like her coming out party in many ways. I'll say to you all, ever since the pandemic, in many ways, there's been a cloud over the world. And it doesn't sometimes pass us. We get hit with it, and life hits hard sometimes, doesn't it? But when God has put a gift that's so powerful inside of you, we need that. We need that because that then ignites something inside of us. And so I want you to talk about this conference, the reason for it, what your excitement is about wealth and Black.
That's a fully loaded question. First of all, let me say thank you for just grabbing me. I'm learning. God is teaching me to be on cue. Don't get ready, stay ready.
That's right. Come on now.
And so, what is so powerful? One is the network.
Mm-hmm.
The network we've created over the years. Right? We go back to
Right.
You were one of my very first mentors and inspirations. It's still blessing my life even today, and that goes back to the 90s. And so bringing something like this together is a culmination. It's a culmination of relationships. It's a culmination of the knowledge that we have gained over the years. The vision was that of, for this particular conference, was that of our current president, national president, Courtney Johnson, who has a passion for development. And so she really combined that vision of development and ownership and said, hey, we need to really better work on our community in the areas of wealth. And that's always been a passion of mine. And I left Procter & Gamble, as you know, 8 years ago, a little over 8 years ago. And I thought I was crazy.
Right. Golden handcuffs. Why are you leaving?
Golden handcuffs.
Right.
But it's that handcuff part.
Yeah, come on.
Right? And that handcuff part.
Those are
is
handcuffs.
like, and once I was able, God set me free. I didn't do that. I didn't walk out on my own. I can't take that. Right.
Right.
But God set me free. And I was loving the
Right. They're intoxicating.
It's intoxicating.
Because gold is.
But the liberty that we have when we understand what wealth is all about and how to get it, and what our counterparts have been doing for years, I got out of P&G and started thinking and started talking about and learning about real estate
Right.
and the different strategies of real estate.
Right.
And that the one piece of knowledge that changed my life was that the quickest way to live is real estate.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so all
Are y'all listening? Come on, community.
out here, it's like you own a home, but what did we hear? That having a home is the key to the American dream. Too many people got homes and they don't have the dream.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
So it was understanding those strategies
Mhm.
that I had another Eric in my life
Okay.
that taught me how to go about acquiring properties,
Mhm.
leveraging the 18 years that I had accumulated some dollars
Right.
at P&G.
That's right.
And to not be afraid to leverage those dollars in order to begin my journey in real estate.
Mhm.
And now I have a portfolio of properties that I continue to leverage in order to build wealth, right? So I teach a class, it's called How to Get What You Want
Mhm.
with What You Already Have, right? And it was just learning. I didn't even know.
Right.
I didn't even know.
Right.
And then when I started to learn, it's the knowledge or the lack of knowledge that we perish.
Mm.
And so when you learn, and that's what this conference is all about,
Right.
is planting seeds. We cannot teach everybody everything
Right.
in 4 hours.
Right. That's right.
It's not even possible.
That's right.
But we can plant the seeds
Mhm.
for them
Mhm.
so that they can go ask better
Oh,
questions.
I want to talk to you. I want you to speak to this. I want you to speak to freedom. In other words, the mindset shift from being a Procter and Gamble employee to being an entrepreneur, and what has God been able to do with the fullness of who Felicia is in terms of your talent, skills, and ability?
Wow. The freedom you can't. I left 6 figures. I don't make 6 figures every single year, right? It's a risk. We know that. We're entrepreneurs,
Absolutely.
right? Some years it's way up there,
Right,
and some
right,
years it's
right,
not.
right. Yeah, true, true that.
The liberty that I have and the flexibility to
Right.
be and to give the way I want to, nothing can pay for that. Nothing can pay for the fact that when my mother was sick, I could be there. I didn't have to answer to anybody.
Come on now,
Right.
preach that.
So when my kid is going to college or moving from one city to, I can be there to support. I don't have to answer to anybody.
Right.
My customers, I can be flexible to their schedule. Some days I work till 12 o'clock at
Right,
night.
right.
Some days I don't work at all.
I sleep right on it. And it's showing that. Say it. Play the quiet music,
Right?
the spa music right there at home.
Don't work at
And
all.
so, I mean, there's a price to pay. It doesn't come for free,
That's right.
but it does come. Right.
And I want to do this. Let's tighten up and hug each other. I just want us to hug each other now. Here's what I want to say to y'all. We love each other. People don't talk enough about Black love and people that are in each other's corner. Felicia says to me, Eric, you know, if you need me, just call. And I've made them calls. Tommy and we feel the same way. So we want to show you a vision of people that are talking about Black wealth, who are not simply focused on money, but love each other, love our community, love our people, and believe that we're trying to invest something in you, impart something to you that will give you a vision of what God wants.
Yes.
Eric, that's spot on, and I appreciate that. Felicia and I, we go back, as you mentioned, knee high to a grasshopper. In the community that we grew up in Cincinnati, I don't know what it was, but something was in the water with those who grew up in that community that no matter where we go, we're connected.
Yeah.
Right? So much so that I have learned that it is my duty and responsibility to say hello to my homeboy and my home. It's my duty. Wherever I am, I got to shout out from afar, make my way over. I believe that is the epitome of a network. That it's not only, it's not surface, it's deep. When you call, I'll be there. I want to ask you, Felicia, that I've watched you, I've admired you in the transition from P&G, doing your work, and I have juxtaposed you with a couple of other folks. Not going to name the other folks at this point, but and I don't know why I'm getting emotional about this and talking to you about it. Some of the other folks of color in your space, in my mind, are not humble about wealth. They broadcast their material purchases, and I don't shame or blame them. It's not what I do, but I juxtapose that with you, that you are a cut from the community, and the humility is coming from somewhere. God, your family, you. Help me understand, and this is not to out anyone, but I know that this is a problem in our community when we come into something, right? You gotta let the world know, right? You gotta see it. Could you talk to us a little bit about how to balance the confidence of pursuing wealth with the arrogance of not really being our counterparts all, right?
So first of all, you said it's our family, it's God, it's about love.
Mhm.
When we do
Say that.
anything,
Say that.
if we don't operate from a spirit of love, it means
Transformational love.
right? And so what we have is from a place of love.
Mhm.
The things have nothing to do. You've never heard me mention anything about things in our conversation
Right.
because it doesn't matter.
Right. Right. Right.
I pray to God, bless me to be a blessing to somebody.
Mhm. And she means that.
You know what I mean?
You ain't
I
just
mean,
saying it.
and so the things come and they go. And I can remember my mom telling me I was raised by a single. And it was unique because my father died when I was very young. And he left us in a way that my mother didn't have to work. So I had everything that I thought I needed, everything I needed, and everything I thought I wanted, right? So material things weren't something that I longed for. That was a blessing.
Right.
But every single time, my mother would say, God gave it to you, and God takes it away. Humbling,
No, yes.
right? And so, you know how we do.
Yep.
We do the tailgates
Yep.
now on
Right.
with the Bengals. Like
Right.
we can't get
Right.
that's
Right.
that's what the people that I've known since I was
Right.
4 years old.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Some of us have arrived.
Right.
Some of us have arrived in other ways because they're doing what they love. They do what they love. One of our friends in the neighborhood, he refereed.
Mhm.
I can't imagine that pays a whole lot
No.
of money.
Happy.
But guess what?
Fulfilled.
He loves what he does and the impact he's having on those kids,
Right.
right? But what does the Bible say about, well, it's harder for a rich man to get through his life than he, right?
Yes.
So those spirits,
Right.
there's no room for that.
Right.
And the things are temporary.
Right.
And I pray that those same people are leaving generational wealth.
Yes.
If they don't have a good attitude, at least make sure you're leaving a legacy for your family. And all we can do is pray for them,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do with
Right.
this.
I want to say something about this Cincinnati experience. How many of these are happening around the country?
100
Okay, 101 of these conferences. And I pray that they have the same kind of wealthy, inspirational leader that Felicia is in this city, in this community. What we have here is not just the fool's gold of materialism and money and gold. The wealth that she has talks about being a wealthy person in your character. a wealthy person in the love that you have to invest in others. As you tie that with money and wealth, then you have something that's so combustible that it can make a difference, a transformational difference in our community. And right now, just in case you all aren't aware of it, we are headed into a storm. There are powers that are trying to cut down everything that says DEI, and Tommy and I are experiencing that. But we know nothing can interfere with, interrupt the will of God. And so I just want to thank you, Felicia, for who you are and the leadership that you're bringing to our community around building wealth internally in terms of your character, and that wealth then leading to the financial wealth that we need as well.
Thank you. I also want to leave you with this. There's a book called The Millionaire Next Door. And if you've ever read that, you know that the average millionaire drives a Honda.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Average millionaire
The average
drives a Honda.
Right.
Not the Bentley,
Right.
not the Aston Martin, or the Ferrari, but the one going down the street and you're like, move out the way. It's okay. I'll move in my little Honda.
So one mindset change. I'm going to ask you to speak to our community. I know my son, my oldest son, Eric, is now here back in Cincinnati. He's working at a car lot and making a bunch of money.
Mhm.
And I think it's kind of a family trait a little bit. When he get that pocket full of money, it start burning holes in his pocket. How do we shift people from a mindset of this money getting antsy in my pockets that I have to spend it on material things that are perishable? How do we shift that mindset from that to stacking it and investing it in something that we have to delay today's gratification?
I would say show him show him or teach him about the compounding effect of money,
Talk about it.
right? So you take $5 and put $5 a day somewhere where it's collecting interest, even if it's 3%, 2% interest, what that turns into over a year, a ton.
Right.
That you show them that, then you like burn a hole. Wait a minute, hold on, because at the end of the year, what does that look like? And then show them how to buy a house.
Right.
Show them how to buy property. Here, I'm gonna take your little money, right? And we're gonna buy it for a family because you got to get out of my house if you haven't already.
Right. He
So
just did.
let's buy it
Right.
for a family, put him in one, and then they collect the rent on the other three. That's compound effect, right? Because
Right.
now you buy one house, you got 3 incomes.
Right. We don't see this, so we don't know about it. And so we perish because we have not the wisdom necessary to make great decisions. Well, Felicia, we want to thank you for stopping by us, girl. You're precious. You really are. You're doing a great thing
I
for this
love you
community.
so much.
I love you too.
Thank you for continuing to have impact. I love you. Thank you.
Right. And you can send the hat maker in. She's Lacey. She's going to,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Her name might be Tanya. Yeah.
Yeah.
So community, we are just grateful to be here. We knew that there would be energy in this place. Yes. Tommy and I wanted to make sure that our podcast was a part of this. We're extended into overtime. We might go to 1 o'clock. But Tommy, what are your thoughts about what Felicia just shared?
Yeah, a couple of things, Eric. One, the transition from corporate America or working for someone else.
Yeah, you know that one well too.
Right. To the entrepreneur side, it's not an easy jump.
Mm-hmm.
Some say a leap of faith. Sometimes you're pushed off the cliff.
Right.
But I will tell you that your question around that freedom, sure, there's some freedoms in the corporate side when the income is coming in consistently and regularly.
Right.
It can be predictable. And so you can save and spend against that.
Right.
But Alicia had shown me that when she transitioned from corporate America and went into this space of real estate, which I was not familiar that was her interest, that she could do that.
Right.
And others can do that.
Right.
And the other is, to take a tagline from another company, just do it.
Right. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Okay, we've got another guest with us here that's got a booth here. at the Building Wealth event. Yes, right here. And thank you for taking time to join us on our podcast, Diversity Conversations. I'm Eric Ellis. I'm the president and CEO of Integrity Development.
Tommy Lewis, president and CEO of Make It Plain.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. So we
Nice
do a
to meet you
podcast. We do a podcast every Saturday morning, usually from 9:30 to 10:30. But we wanted to sort of organize it today around this event, and we just wanted to bring you to our community to, number one, introduce yourself. Tell people a little bit about your background. What are the experiences and the people that have brought you to who you are today, and then talk about your shop.
All right now. Well, hello everyone. My name is Tanya Grace. I am the owner of Style and Grace Consignment. That is an online boutique where I carry items for women, women's clothing and accessories. I do have with me today, and I'm jumping the gun.
That's okay. Go, girl. Go.
Background.
Right.
But I am known for the fedoras, the hats. So I did bring a few of those today, as well as some other items. And one thing I'll let you touch these and feel them. Isn't this nice? Like this wavy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
You can bring that to the camera so we can take a look at our community. We have a lot of folks in Los Angeles, Atlanta, Dallas.
Okay.
Who visit us every Saturday.
Okay.
Right.
So what you're holding is the faux suede. So it feels, you wouldn't think that it wasn't suede, right? It feels
Right.
exactly like suede. And then this is actually, it looks wool, but it's actually a polyester blend. Both of these hats can be worn year round. And what I like to highlight is that the hats are actually unisex. A lot of people think that these are just for women, and they are absolutely not. They are unisex. They actually, Eric was showing on the inside, there is actually a drawstring on here as well. So they could be adjusted for fit if it's a little too big for your head.
What does it mean for you to be in business for yourself? How long have you done this? Is there anybody else in your family that were entrepreneurs that sort of encouraged you to go this way?
Actually, no. I am the first entrepreneur in my family. I've been doing this now for almost 10 years. What gave me that push was I was in corporate America for 17 years, and I was separated from the company. So, and I was actually,
that's what we said earlier.
yeah, I was separated from them twice. I don't want to say the name of the company, but I worked for a corporation here in Cincinnati. For I think the first time it was 15 years. They called me, they laid me off. I was off for 6 months. They called me back. And then I worked for another 2 years. And then after that second separation,
You said, I'm done with this.
yeah,
Right. You're not likely to separate yourself from your company, are you?
no.
I didn't think so. See, that's the other part. When you work for yourself, you got some job security there. And what do you do when business is down? When you're not getting all the hits, what are you able to do?
Well, like most people, I have multiple streams of income.
Okay.
So this
Talk
is,
about that.
I have a full-time job.
Okay.
Okay, I have a full-time job. And I do this on the side. Okay. And I started this business because it's something that I'm passionate about. I've always loved clothes and I've always loved fashion.
See you selling today. I see you,
And
girl.
I actually sell this outfit as
Oh.
well.
I stand up model that for everybody.
It's sharp as a tack.
Yeah.
So this is just a little linen number that I just got in.
Oh, nice.
Summer is approaching.
Right.
Got our little white party.
Right, right.
So this is a linen two-piece set
Ooh.
that you can find on my website. Can I plug my website?
Oh, absolutely. You got to.
And it's www.styleandgraceconsignment.com.
One more time for
www.styleandgraceconsignment.com.
Right. So I'll tell you what, Tommy may have one last question, and then we're going to thank you for joining us. But if you got other things that you want to show people, certainly just feel free to come in, put them in the camera, and move on as a little commercial. Okay?
Thank you. I appreciate that, guys.
I want to say this, a couple things. One, the apparel, the hats, you all obviously cannot touch them virtually. These are high quality.
Absolutely.
Myself and my wife will be seen.
Thank you.
So that's one thing. And the linen outfit is different. Sometimes linen can be too thin, too light.
That's right.
and
That's
crinkle
right.
real
That's
quick.
right.
right?
That's a good point.
Get out
Tommy.
there in the sun, you get in the water, all the good stuff. A good, nice, quality, weighty linen that can transition from the heat into the cool of the evening is what you need. Now we're talking about class now.
Right.
And what you say here
Right.
is class. So
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Much love.
Thank you.
Much love.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you. Take care.
Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
This is what it's about. This is what it's about. Eric, having folks that are able to not only transition from a day job, if you will, still pursue their passion.
Mhm.
And I'm going to push back just a little bit. You know, we have a day job and then kind of the side piece. I think they can work
Together.
in tandem.
Yeah. Excellent.
Right.
Excellent. I agree with that.
Yeah, because some of us are doing jobs that, bring in the income.
Yeah, and you enjoy it.
Enjoy
Got
it.
your insurance paid for.
And then we have the talent
Right.
that we bring to it, or
Right.
the passion. And so that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing folks pursuing wealth. Obviously, hopefully this is transferring over. A lot of happy people.
Right. And I'll tell you that Tommy and I know that entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart,
No.
or the person that doesn't have a spirit of fight. But I would say to you that our business journey would go easier if we're networking with each other in powerful ways. And so I'm going to say to you all that too often we are waiting on the next presidential election to decide who's going to win office so we can then forecast what our future is going to look like. I'm going to say to you that we need to get out of that game altogether, that it really, we will survive no matter who our president is. I have a strong feeling about who I want that to be. I don't love Joe Biden. He's making a bunch of mistakes right now. He's in a mess with, what's happening in the Middle East, and many young people and others are saying, you're letting us down because of this massacre that's happening right now. In Israel, that October 7th, everybody knows that was heinous, that was wrong, that was over the top, that was evil. And we certainly believe that you have a righteous battle to go after Hamas. But now what's happening with over 35,000 women, children, and some soldiers being killed in Gaza right now is just not tenable. And I believe that we're going to need some change there. But if we look at President Trump and the division that he brings to our country, I don't even fear his quote unquote racism as much as his willingness to walk away from blue states and to talk language that says that we don't have to care about each other. But many people are looking at him and saying that President Trump was good for the economy, was good for their pockets. There are people that we're seeing the support from African-American men and Latino men going up. That might surprise some of you, because I think we look at him from a materialistic standpoint and from a machismo standpoint, and we believe that that's somebody, if you're not tuned in, that you admire. But that's why we were saying when Felicia was here that building wealth is not something that can simply happen through materialism and through money, through gold, through paper. It has to first start, in my view, in terms of your character and your integrity. And as you build a wealthy place in those spaces, I think you are then a candidate for Almighty God to do some things for you that this world never can. As I think about a business that we were seeking to buy a year ago, I had a guy that I trained in diversity, 25 years ago, that came to me and said, Eric, I think that I have $1 billion company here. I think that people of color ought to own that. And so I'm reaching out to you. Can you pull together a team? I said, yeah. I started pulling together a team. And right from the beginning, people were asking me, Eric, are you praying for that deal? I said, no. I said, I'm not praying for the deal. I said, I'm praying for God's purpose and God's will be done. And I meant that. That wasn't just something that I was saying, because God had already shown me that he can do anything when he had somebody call me out the blue and offer for me to put together a team to buy $1 billion company. So I'm saying to you that if you get your value system in order, looking at your own character, looking at your own wealthy place in terms of your integrity, your morals, your values. You're going to make mistakes in those places, but as you are working on trying to be good soil, then I believe that God can begin to invest in the wealth building of that soil. And I don't think it's worth much. Here's what I would say to you. I believe that God's timing is always perfect timing. I don't want one thing before I'm ready, Tom.
Yeah.
And so I just ride this. And in those lulls, there's still things to learn so that when you get to the highs, that you never get so carried away with that you no longer will be the kind of person that God wants you to follow.
Eric, I do appreciate you sharing the story about the billion-dollar opportunity. I'm reminded of an opportunity that I had 3 or 4 years ago. It was a little bit south of $1 billion. It's about 750 million, and I was involved in a series of meetings with the investors who are really tapping my expertise and knowledge around minority-owned businesses. And so we were having some conversations. And one thing I learned in the meeting, and this is $500,000, almost $1 billion, even if you go north of $1 billion, Eric, that type of wealth sounds and acts differently.
Yeah.
It does. And so when I was engaged personally, this, contrary to popular belief, I don't have $1 billion. I'm just saying.
He's not gonna tell you right now, but I know something about that.
So I was going into the meeting, I knew what I knew, but I started to hear when the numbers were thrown around, I started to hear what I didn't hear. I didn't hear gasps. Oh my, that's a lot. Right. I didn't hear folks shuffling in their seats. Right. I heard that's what it is. It's $1 billion. Right. Right. Now, for those who want to put this in context, if you ever had $5,000 in your account, right? If you've ever had $5,000, right, and you went out and withdrew $100 to go to the movies, right, and as you were going to the movies, you stopped and got some gas, and you paid for the gas in cash, and you ended up with some loose change, 15, 16 cents, right? And in the process of you getting the change back, paper change and loose change, you dropped a nickel on the ground. Right. But you're late for the movie, Eric. Right. So you didn't think anything of the nickel.
No, you kicked that nickel on
and kept it moving.
Yeah.
Just like you just kicked that nickel over, some folks are kicking over $10,000,
Yeah.
$100,000.
That's right.
It is relative.
Right.
What we're talking about is financial wealth and psychological and spiritual wealth.
Right.
Is what happens. And so we're just having a conversation here about this.
We've got Eric Kearney here with us. Maybe he'll give us a minute or two on our podcast. Eric, can you go ahead? Yeah. We've got Eric Kearney. He is the president and CEO of the African American Chamber. He's here at the Wealth Building Conference.
Camera.
And so we are great. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're not just talking.
Yeah. Okay.
I want you to just introduce yourself to our community. Tell them a little bit about the experiences and people that have brought you to who you are today, what you do at the African American Chamber, and why this conference, this event is essential for our community.
Okay. So I would say my two guiding principles are: how do I be more like Eric Ellis?
Okay, that's why I invited you. I saw that coming. Okay, good start. Good start.
But it's a blessing to be part of the African American Chamber of Commerce. I'm very fortunate to be president. I'm starting, believe it or not, my 8th year.
Okay.
Which, I don't look that old, right? It's great here. But so that it's really been great. So the organization, we have 14 people that work, and our mission is to help business owners, Black business owners, small business owners, to get certified. We counsel them, we market for them, we give them support, we uplift them, we provide loans, we provide grants. And so we're kind of like a point guard almost.
Okay.
With information. And so we may not do everything that we advise people about, but we might advise them to go see someone like Tommy to do a report or something like that. Or someone like you to help them with their DEIB concerns or whatever it might be. So that kind of gives you an idea. Now, this is really fantastic what the realtors are doing.
Right.
And it's so important because when you talk to millionaires, when you talk to billionaires, the way that they created their wealth, the way that they started out is real estate, 100%. So I would just say, get started in real estate. I'm going to tell you a quick story if I may.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. So I was probably 32 years old, and this older gentleman, his name is David. We were law partners together. And I said, David, what's going on? And he said, I'm going to tell you the secret. And I said, okay, break it down. So he said, when I was in my 20s, I made a goal of getting into debt on high quality commercial real estate, $1 million. And then he said, on my 40th birthday, I wanted to be $5 million in debt on high quality commercial real estate properties. And then when I'm 50, 10 million or 15 million. And I said, oh. And then he said, I made one mistake. And I said, what was it? He said, I didn't. Yes. He said, I didn't aim high enough.
Right.
I didn't aim high enough. And so that, to be honest with you, I didn't understand what he was saying.
Right.
Now I do.
Right.
Now I do.
Right.
He emphasized the debt, whereas most of us emphasize,
Yeah.
I gotta get a home for $100,000 or $200,000 or whatever it is. No. They approach it completely differently.
Because he knew it was going to be appreciating, and
Right.
whatever he paid for it,
Right.
it was going to be. So I want to say this. I know he's got some other people that he wants to talk to, but I want to just put this shout out together around Eric and his wife, Jan Michelle.
Oh, thank you.
In this city, we know a lot of people and we see a lot of people. The people that we've been fortunate to bring to this seat here today are people of fantastic character and genuine integrity. And I admire Eric and his wife so much. If anybody anywhere asks me, what do you believe about them? I would say they are a couple of deep integrity. And I just value that, because what Tommy and I said to you today at the start of this programming was that what makes this different with Felicia leading here in Cincinnati is that it's not just wealth creation and wealth building in terms of the material side, but it's also the personal side. And if you build a wealthy place on the inside of yourself, you are then a prime candidate to take the material to another level. So I just want to thank you.
Oh, thank
and
you,
let you
Eric.
know how much I admire you and your wife for what you are, who you all are.
Yeah. Can I tell a story about you and your wife?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a true story. I was running for Cincinnati City Council, and you go. They make a schedule for you. You're supposed to visit different places. So I go. On my schedule is a church on Fosdick.
Yeah.
And what would that be? Clifton?
Uh-huh.
Clifton High?
Coreyville.
Port. So I go to this church, and there's 12 people sitting around a circle. And I'm like, what did they schedule me? So I sat down. And your wife gave the most beautiful testimony about the healing power of God and Jesus.
Right.
I nearly sat there and cried. And I thought to myself, why am I here? Right? I was like, like it was completely different than my entire day, my week, but it was right there. And she provided a beautiful testimony about how she overcame. Yeah, that was beautiful.
And that's
a great story. I want to add this real quick before you go, Eric, as well, just to give you your roses now as well. So I will say this, community, if you may know this or not, but there are certain people at certain levels and statutes of the community who are not as welcoming.
That's right.
This gentleman and his wife are approachable with a sense of humor. It is incredible the humility that humor brings, as if folks like this are human beings. Not that you make it to a particular wealth status or particular level in your career, and then you are holier than thou or bigger. That's not the case. I respect you immensely because you're approachable, and you have stories and jokes to make any person, any group of people feel welcome. I believe that wealth in this vein is attractive.
Right. Yes, it is.
And it's not repelling.
That's right.
It's
That's
not
right.
funny,
That's right.
right? It's
That's
not
right.
uppity. It's actually calm.
Right.
There is
Right.
enough.
Thank you.
for all of
Right.
us.
And we're living in a time where people despise politicians.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the question that I ask, Eric, all the time, whenever I do a workshop, I ask the audience. I say, okay, I'm gonna ask you one question, audience. I said, what grade would you give Congress, Republicans and Democrats, for working together on behalf of us, the American people? And the audience all together, both sides, F, they scream that out. When I think about politicians, I also think kind of slimy. But he and his wife are completely opposite of that. And when I think about them, I think about people that are honorable, that keep it simple here, that you might disagree or differ with them on a political topic or issue, but no one will dispute the integrity from which they come from in terms of their leadership. And we need more of that in this city, in this state, in this country. I just want
That's
to thank
very
you.
kind. That's very kind of you, Eric. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Tommy. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining
Okay.
us.
Yeah, okay, thank you. They're kicking me out. That was very subtle the way they did
Yeah,
it.
one more
Okay,
guest
yeah,
right
yeah.
here.
Okay, okay,
Thank you.
okay, you're gonna get somebody who's better looking. Okay, thank you. That's it.
We got another guest? Okay, excellent, excellent. Well, we're on a roll now, and so we've got several guests. These individuals are inspirational. I'm going to say it to your community that there's some things that we cannot accomplish until we see them. As we begin to see things, we begin to perceive what we're able to accomplish. Tommy Lewis and I are with you every week, but today we are bringing some successful guests to you to inspire you from their lives and then talk to you about what they're talking about, why they're here at this event today. Introduce yourself. How are you?
How are you?
Good.
My name is Anita Johnson.
Excellent. Excellent.
Nice to meet you.
Eric
I'm
Ellis.
honored to be here.
Absolutely.
Felicia Bell invited me
Okay.
to be a panelist today. And today, what I was on the panel about what do you do with big box house? Okay. Okay. And I'm a real estate entrepreneur.
Okay.
I've been doing this for about 20 years now. Just recently retired from Procter & Gamble.
Oh, another P&G.
30
A lot of smart
years
people.
there.
Excellent.
So yeah, I do all types of real estate transactions. Basically, I help people solve their real estate problems. So I get calls from people, they have all types of problems they need to sell for various reasons. And all of their reasons don't necessarily support them going and getting a licensed realtor, putting their house on the market, right? Sometimes maybe they got behind on the mortgage, they couldn't pay their taxes, they had some type of medical situation, and they can't afford to do the repairs to the house they need to do to list. So that's where I come in. I come in and try to understand the situation and figure out, well, what might be possible in terms of their real estate strategies to help structure that.
So what are the pros and cons, and Tommy's writing in next, of the work that you were doing? What do you enjoy about it? What makes it positive and rewarding? What makes it challenging?
What's rewarding for me is helping someone out of a situation, right? A situation that prior to working with me, they had no idea was even possible, that type of solution. I had a young lady, this is a few years back, and I'll never forget it because I didn't know her, this full part of her situation until we actually completed the sale, and she grabbed me and hugged me and she said, "Thank you so much." She said, "You see that kid out there in that minivan?" She said, "Where's my grandson?" She said, "My daughter is strung out on heroin and I'm taking care of him." She said, "And I had no idea what I was going to do with this house. It's got all of these code violations on it and I'm having to pay all the," I didn't know that piece. right? So for me, it's just being able to help people out of a situation, right? That's ability.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, Anita, real estate is, for the most part, you know this more than I do, physical asset.
absolutely.
Over the last several years, particularly within COVID, there was a hit on the industry, the market. What I'm hearing from you now is that I sense and I hear that you work with the human being to transition them and prepare them and provide opportunities for the purchase and or whatever it is. How might you do what you do virtually? We're talking to folks from around the world, across the US,
Right.
who may need you. How much?
So during COVID, that's a perfect question because so let's say pre-COVID and even now, if I'm talking to someone, I'll go out to their home, walk the property, really understand what the condition is, what repairs are needed. Well, in COVID times, some people didn't want you to come to their house.
Right. I remember
They
that.
didn't want you to come to their house. So basically what I would do virtually, okay, I would say, hey, here's a list of things that I need you to take pictures of. Here's a list of things I need you to take video of, right? That gives me an idea of, they may not know, for example, how old their furnace is. But if you go take a picture, there's this little, and I give them instructions, there's a little thing on there that looks like this, right? Take a picture. Everybody is carrying a camera in their phone, right? So they can take a picture, they can email me, right? And then we can have the conversation over the phone. Right. So that is definitely one way you can do things.
Yeah, we have to be creative, innovative in times of change and challenge. So now that you are seasoned veteran on the corporate side, seasoned in real estate, as you look at your business, what's your 5-year forecast?
Wow. So for me, as I mentioned, I retired just about almost a year and a half, not quite.
Okay.
So my longer term goals are continue to acquire properties, but also to help educate people, right? Because a lot of people don't really understand what's possible.
Right.
From one of the biggest misconceptions out there is that you have to be able to go to a bank and be able to get a loan to buy a property, and that is just not true.
Right.
There are so many various ways that you can acquire properties without having to go to a bank. And then on the flip side, what a lot of people don't actually realize is you can become a homeowner in that same way. I can sell a person property who maybe they make enough money, but they're not quote unquote bankable, right? By traditional lending standards. I can turn around and sell them a home, giving them the ability to become a homeowner, right? And maybe I sell it to them on payments, right? So they still, at the end of the day, they own a home, right? But maybe they couldn't get traditional finance. And that happens in a lot of cases, right?
How rewarding is your work today? Right. Give us one last thing. We asked this of Felicia. What is the mindset difference for you working at Procter & Gamble and now being
transition to an entrepreneur? Yeah, I think I get that question a lot, right? And I think the difference is you have to think about what am I doing for myself and for those that are, my family, right? So, I when I was working full time, had more what I call more of a full time job, right? So at a certain point, I started to realize, wow, if I don't really focus on what I need to do for me first, so I'm going to get up early. I'm going to get up early, and I'm going to study those things I need to study, or write down those things that I need to do throughout the day when I have maybe a few minutes to make a quick call, right? So it's about making sure that you're thinking as right? You got to make it work.
Yeah, nobody bringing this in.
Nobody's making this, I've got to do it. I don't pass it, I don't watch it.
Right. You don't get a check just any old way. You got to go earn it. Well, it was really a pleasure meeting you. Love what you're doing. Congratulations. Hopefully I can have more music again.
Yeah, very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right.
Well, community, I think we may have lost you. And so we appreciate being here together. For those of you that may still be out there. Tommy, this was a good experience. I'm glad we were able to come here and be a part of this wealth building event. And as always, man, love work with you.
Love as well. So again, if we have you still, otherwise we'll see you next week at our standard time, 9:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Eastern on this channel. Thank you for joining us. But please take care of yourself and each other.